This Learning Spotlight focuses on how to give effective feedback. But first, let's answer the question, why is feedback so important? 4 out of 10 workers report being actively disengaged when they get little or no feedback. But only just over half of managers think they give enough feedback. But what is enough? Well, 43% of highly engaged employees say that they receive feedback at least once per week. Feedback is therefore important, and feedback that is specifically focused on strengths results in workers being 30 times more likely to be actively engaged. These responses are from before the so we can assume that the need for feedback in a hybrid or remote working environment is at least the same, if not greater. But what is feedback? Feedback is simply information about a person's performance or understanding. The information itself is neither good nor bad, although you could argue that it is good to have information about your performance and bad to be in the dark. People tend to label feedback as good or bad depending on the gap between performance and expectations. We can therefore consider feedback as effective when it helps to close the gap between behavior and objective. This diagram from my 2020 book, The New Leadership Playbook, Being Human Whilst Successfully Delivering Accelerated Results, shows how feedback closes the gap by adjusting understanding and behavior. Feedback cannot be effective if the objective or success criteria were not well articulated or unclear. And feedback won't be effective if the person cannot hear the feedback because they are in denial or being defensive. It is therefore important to communicate the maxim that there is no failure, only feedback for improvement. And the FIF model, also in the New Leadership Playbook, gives you a framework for delivering effective feedback. The FIF model helps frame your feedback, positive or negative, for growth. Using this model, you can have regular, short conversations that are well received. Feedback starts by stating the facts so you have a shared reality with the person you're giving the feedback to. You can't give feedback if the person doesn't recognize the facts of the situations. So this step ensures ownership is established. Imagine giving feedback to Stephen, who is competent in his role but tends to keep to himself, although his peers might seek his opinion and seem to trust his advice. You have noticed that despite his competence and trustworthiness, Stephen keeps quiet in meetings and doesn't offer his perspective. Here's how you might state the facts to Stephen. Hi Stephen, I wanted to speak with you about the meeting we just had and your behaviour in other meetings over the last few weeks. The next step in the FIF model is to establish the impact of the individual's behaviour, and you could inquire about their intention behind the behaviour. You can't offer constructive feedback without understanding the person's intention. Otherwise, you risk jumping to conclusions. The impact of Stephen not speaking up in meetings includes vital insights that are not being considered, and his personal brand is now non-existent. You could tell this to Stephen, or you could help him realise this himself. Realising you're knowledgeable on the topic, Stephen, I'm curious about your intention to stay quiet. Stephen might respond, well, I guess I don't like to speak out of turn. And you might respond, well look, there's no hierarchy in these meetings. If you don't speak up when you have insights, how do you think that might impact the project? Notice the use of questions to establish intention and impact. To adjust behaviour, the person receiving the feedback must take ownership. They are more likely to do so if they come up with the answers themselves. As a manager, always assume a positive intention behind any behaviour. The employee does what they do because it has an internal logic for them. It is important to make the employee aware of the impact of that behaviour, good or bad. Once the individual is aware of the impact, you can help adjust their positive intention to create a different future behaviour that gets the right outcome. For example, Stephen, your opinion matters. If you keep quiet in meetings, it not only impacts the project, but also reduces your visibility, which will impact your prospects for promotion. Stephen might respond, well, if you put it that way, you could say, I believe you're a valuable member of the team, and I know your peers value your opinion. What do you think you can do better in the future? If possible, avoid prescribing or dictating the new behavior. Ask, what are you going to stop, start, or continue to do in the future? Stephen, in terms of improving your impact, what do you think you should do? Stephen might say, I'll make an effort to be more assertive in meetings. And you could respond, great. When will we witness this new behavior? And Stephen could say, at our next meeting, I will give my input. That's great, Stephen. I'm looking forward to your contribution. FIF works equally well for validating behaviors that work and those that don't. It provides a perfect model for this because it's important to let people know that you're not criticizing them, but correcting behaviors and understanding to achieve goals and objectives. Remember that to be an effective leader, you need to articulate what good and bad behaviors look, sound, and feel like. You must also communicate via tone and body language that the feedback is for growth, not criticism. Immediate and accurate feedback is a gift to the person receiving it. Never hold back thinking you are being nice. I'm Andrew Bryant, and for more plays, strategies, conversations to be an effective manager or leader, check out the new Leadership Playbook.